Renaissance. The Renaissance, meaning rebirth, was a revolutionary period in art history that flourished in Italy from the 14th to the 16th century. So this movement marked a pivotal shift from medieval artistic traditions to a new era of creativity and intellectual curiosity. At its core, Renaissance art celebrated humanism, placing mankind at the center of the universe. Artists sought to capture the beauty and complexity of the natural world with unprecedented realism and attention to detail. They developed techniques like linear perspective to create the illusion of three-dimensional space on flat surfaces. Renaissance painters elevated their craft from mere craftsmanship to a liberal art alongside poetry and philosophy. They studied anatomy, mathematics, and classical literature to infuse their work with deeper meaning and sophistication. The era saw the rise of individual artistic genius, with masters like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Raphael pushing the boundaries of artistic expression. Their works often blended religious themes with classical mythology and contemporary portraiture, reflecting the era's fusion of Christian and humanist ideals. Ultimately, the Renaissance style of painting embodied a rebirth of classical learning and a celebration of human potential, laying the foundation for centuries of artistic innovation to follow. Baroque. The Baroque style emerged in the late 16th century as a dramatic response to the restraint and balance of the Renaissance. This bold, emotional art form spread from Italy across Europe, dominating the 17th century art world. The Baroque painting is characterized by its theatrical intensity and dynamic movement. Artists used dramatic contrasts of light and shadow, known as chiaroscuro, to create a sense of depth and heighten emotional impact. Compositions often featured diagonal lines and swirling forms that draw the eye across the canvas. Religious and mythological themes were common, reflecting the style's roots in Counter-Reformation Catholicism. However, Baroque artists also excelled in portraiture and still life, infusing everyday subjects with grandeur and symbolic meaning. The Baroque style embraced complexity and ornamentation. Paintings often depicted moments of high drama or spiritual ecstasy, aiming to engage the viewer's senses and emotions. This approach reflected the era's focus on persuasion and spectacle in both religious and secular contexts. Masters like Caravaggio, Rembrandt, and Rubens epitomized the Baroque style, creating works of stunning virtuosity that continue to captivate audiences today. Their legacy is a testament to the power of art to move, inspire, and transform perceptions.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Impressionism. Impressionism, emerging in late 19th century France, revolutionized the art world by breaking away from academic traditions. So this innovative style sought to capture the fleeting effects of light and atmosphere on the visual world. Impressionist painters worked primarily outdoors or in plein air to directly observe and record the changing qualities of light and color in nature. They used quick, loose brushstrokes and pure, unmixed colors to create a sense of spontaneity and immediacy in their work. So rather than depicting subjects with photographic accuracy, Impressionists tend to convey the sensation or impression of a scene. They often focused on everyday subjects, landscapes, street scenes, and moments of modern life, presenting them with a fresh, unidealized perspective. So the style emphasized the play of light on surfaces, sometimes to the point where recognizable forms dissolved into shimmering color. This approach challenged viewers to engage more actively with the painting, assembling the visual information into a coherent whole. Artists like Monet, Renoir, and Degas pioneered this revolutionary style, paving the way for modern art movements. Impressionism's legacy lies in its celebration of individual perception and its radical departure from artistic conventions. Expressionism. Expressionism, emerging in early 20th century Germany, was a powerful artistic movement that prioritized emotional and psychological truth over visual reality. This style sought to express the artist's inner feelings and ideas rather than depict the external world accurately. Expressionist paintings are characterized by their intense, often unsettling imagery. Artists used distorted forms, exaggerated proportions, and vivid, non-naturalistic colors to convey strong emotions and provoke a visceral response in the viewer. The style often addressed dark themes such as alienation, anxiety, and the human condition in the modern world. Many expressionist works have a raw, almost primitive quality, reflecting the artist's desire to tap into primal human emotions and experiences. Expressionism was deeply influenced by the turbulent social and political climate of its time, including the aftermath of World War I. Artists like Edvard Munch, Ernst Ludwig Kirchner, and Wassily Kandinsky used their work to comment on societal issues and explore the depths of human psychology. This movement laid important groundwork for later avant-garde styles, emphasizing the power of art to communicate complex emotional and spiritual truths. Expressionism's legacy continues to inspire artists who seek to explore the inner landscape of human experience. Cubism. Cubism, pioneered by Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque in the early 20th century, radically transformed the way artists approach representation in painting. This revolutionary style abandoned traditional notions of perspective, breaking objects and figures into geometric shapes and presenting them from multiple viewpoints simultaneously. At its core, Cubism sought to capture the essence of an object rather than its appearance from a single vantage point. Artists fragmented their subjects, rearranging the pieces to create complex, multifaceted compositions. This approach reflected a new understanding of reality influenced by contemporary developments in science and philosophy. The Cubist paintings often have a flattened, almost college-like quality. The style typically uses a muted color palette, emphasizing form and structure over naturalistic color. Many Cubist works incorporate elements of text or patterns, blurring the line between representation and abstraction. The movement is typically divided into two phases: analytical Cubism, characterized by its rigorous deconstruction of form, and synthetic Cubism, which introduced collage elements and a greater degree of abstraction. Cubism's impact on modern art was profound, paving the way for abstract styles and influencing fields beyond painting, including sculpture and architecture. Its legacy lies in its radical reimagining of visual representation and its challenge to traditional artistic conventions. Surrealism. Surrealism, emerging in the 1920s, was an artistic and literary movement that sought to unlock the power of the unconscious mind. Inspired by the theories of Sigmund Freud, Surrealist painters aimed to bridge the gap between dreams and reality, creating startling and often irrational juxtapositions of images. At the heart of Surrealism was the belief in the superior reality of the subconscious. Artists like Salvador Dali, René Magritte, and Joan Miro created dreamlike scenarios that defied logic and challenged viewers' perceptions. They employed techniques such as automatic drawing and decalcomania to tap into the unconscious and bypass rational thought. Surrealist paintings often feature distorted or metamorphosing figures, impossible landscapes, and objects removed from their usual contexts. These elements combine to create a sense of disorientation and wonder, inviting viewers to explore the depths of their own psyche. The movement was deeply influenced by the socio-political upheavals of its time, including the aftermath of World War I and the rise of fascism. Many surrealist works contain subtle or overt critiques of society and human nature. Surrealism's legacy extends far beyond the visual arts, influencing fields such as literature, film, and psychology. Its exploration of the subconscious and celebration of the irrational continue to resonate in contemporary art and culture. Abstract Expressionism. Abstract Expressionism, emerging in post-World War II America, revolutionized the art world with its emphasis on spontaneous, intuitive creation. This movement rejected representational art in favor of pure abstraction, seeking to express raw emotion and the artist's inner world. At its core, abstract expressionism celebrates the act of painting itself. Artists like Jackson Pollock and Willem de Kooning embraced large-scale canvases and energetic, gestural brushwork. They often worked on the floor, moving around their canvases to create dynamic, all-over compositions. The style is characterized by its bold use of color, form, and texture. Many abstract expressionist paintings feature thick, impasto layers of paint and vigorous brushstrokes that reveal the artist's physical engagement with the medium. This approach emphasizes the painting as a record of the creative process rather than a window onto the external world. Abstract expressionism encompasses various techniques, from Pollock's drip paintings to Mark Rothko's Keller fieldworks. Despite their differences, these artists shared a commitment to expressing universal emotions and exploring the subconscious mind through non-representational means. The movement's impact was profound, shifting the center of the art world from Paris to New York and paving the way for numerous subsequent abstract style. Its legacy lies in its celebration of artistic freedom and individual expression. Pop art. Pop art, emerging in the 1950s and 1960s, was a vibrant reaction against the seriousness of abstract expressionism. This movement embraced popular culture, mass media, and consumerism as subjects for fine art, blurring the boundaries between high and low culture. At its heart, pop art sought to challenge traditional notions of what constitutes art. Artists like Andy Warhol and Roy Lichtenstein appropriated images from advertisements, comic books, and consumer products, presenting them in bold, graphic styles. They often used commercial techniques like screen printing to produce their work, further challenging the notion of the artist's hand. Pop art is characterized by its use of bright, saturated colors and simplified forms. Many pop paintings feature repetition and seriality, reflecting the mass production methods of consumer culture. The style often employs irony and wit to comment on contemporary society and the nature of art itself. While often seen as a celebration of consumer culture, pop art also contained elements of critique. By elevating everyday objects and images to the status of fine art, pop artists invited viewers to consider the role of commercialism and mass media in shaping cultural values. Pop art's influence extends far beyond the visual arts, impacting fields such as fashion, design, and music. Its legacy lies in its democratization of art and its enduring commentary on consumer culture. Realism. Realism, emerging in mid-19th century France, was a revolutionary artistic movement that sought to depict the world as it truly appeared, without idealization or romanticization. This style marked a significant departure from the dominant Romantic and Neoclassical traditions of the time. At its core, realism aimed to represent the lives of ordinary people and everyday scenes with honesty and accuracy. Artists like Gustave Courbet and Jean-François Millet focused on subjects previously considered unworthy of fine art, such as peasants, laborers, and rural landscapes. Realist paintings are characterized by their attention to detail and commitment to visual truth. Artists strove to capture the textures, colors, and light of the natural world with precision. They often worked directly from life, rejecting the studio practices of academic painting. The movement had strong social and political undertones. Many realist artists use their work to draw attention to social injustices and the harsh realities of working-class life. This approach reflected the era's growing interest in social reform and scientific objectivity. Realism's influence extended beyond painting, impacting literature and other art forms. Its legacy lies in its democratization of subject matter and its emphasis on observation over imagination, paving the way for later movements like Impressionism and Modernism. Romanticism. Romanticism, flourishing in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, was a profound artistic, literary, and intellectual movement that emphasized emotion, individualism, and the sublime. So this style emerged as a reaction against the rationalism of the Enlightenment and the rigid formality of Neoclassicism. So at its heart, Romanticism celebrated the power of nature, the importance of feeling over reason, and the uniqueness of individual experience. Painters like James W. Turner and Caspar David Friedrich created dramatic landscapes that evoked awe and wonder, often featuring turbulent skies or misraw rugged mountains. Romantic paintings are characterized by their use of rich, dramatic colors and loose, expressive brushwork. Artists often employed strong light-dark contrasts to create a sense of drama and mystery. Subjects ranged from historical and mythological scenes to portraits that emphasized the sitter's inner emotional life. The movement was deeply influenced by contemporary political and social upheavals, including the French Revolution and the Industrial Revolution. Many Romantic artists used their work to explore themes of freedom, revolution, and the relationship between humanity and nature. Romanticism's impact extended far beyond painting, influencing music, literature, and philosophy. Its legacy lies in its celebration of imagination, mysticism, and individual expression, values that continue to resonate in contemporary art and culture. Neoclassicism. Neoclassicism, emerging in the mid-18th century, was a revival of the classical styles and subjects of ancient Greece and Rome. This movement arose as a reaction against the perceived frivolity of the Rococo style and was fueled by new archaeological discoveries and Enlightenment ideals. At its core, Neoclassicism sought to emulate the noble simplicity and calm grandeur of classical art. Painters like Jacques-Louis David and Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingras's created works characterized by clarity of form, balanced compositions, and a restrained color palette. They often depicted scenes from classical history or mythology, using them to convey moral and civic virtues. Neoclassical paintings typically feature precise, linear drawing and smooth brushwork that minimizes visible texture. The figures are idealized and sculpted, reminiscent of classical quarry. The style emphasizes rational order and control over emotional expression. So the movement was closely tied to the political and social ideals of its time, particularly the French Revolution. Many neoclassical works contain subtle or overt political messages promoting values such as patriotism, self-sacrifice, and civic duty. Neoclassicism's influence extended beyond painting to architecture, sculpture, and decorative arts. Its legacy lies in its revival of classical ideals and its emphasis on technical mastery and moral purpose in art. Post-Impressionism. Post-Impressionism, emerging in the 1880s, was not a unified movement, but a diverse array of artistic styles that evolved from and reacted against Impressionism. This period saw artists pushing beyond the limitations of Impressionist technique to explore new avenues of artistic expression. At its heart, Post-Impressionism sought to retain the vivid colors and spontaneous brushwork of Impressionism, while introducing greater structure, emotional depth, and symbolic meaning. Artists like Vincent van Gogh Paul Gauguin, and Paul Cézanne each developed highly individual styles that would profoundly influence 20th century art. Post-Impressionist paintings are characterized by their bold use of color, often applied in ways that diverge from natural appearance. Many artists employed simplified forms and distorted perspectives to convey subjective experiences or abstract ideas. Brushwork ranges from the precise, analytical approach of Seurat's pointillism to the passionate, expressive strokes of Van Gogh. The movement was deeply influenced by developments in color theory and the increasing availability of non-European art, particularly Japanese prints. Many post-impressionist artists sought to imbue their work with spiritual or psychological significance beyond mere visual representation. Post-impressionism's legacy lies in its bridging of 19th century impressionism and the radical avant-garde movements of the 20th century. It paved the way for styles such as Fauvism, Cubism, and Expressionism, fundamentally changing the course of modern art.